Hi, I'm Lindsay Weisner from the Neurotic Nourishment Podcast. I'm a psychologist, an author.
Mom, where's my math book?
It's in the kitchen. Neurotic Nourishment is a podcast for smart, sweary women.
Mom, we're gonna be late. We don't have to be there for another 40 minutes. But I don't want to be late.
Neurotic Nourishment is a podcast where smart, sweary women can talk about real issues that matter. The truth is...
Mom, she punched me. He said I poured too much milk. She did pour too much milk. Mom, where do babies come from? Sex.
Neurotic Nourishment is a podcast where smart, sweary women talk about shit that matters. The truth is, no matter what we accomplish in our professional lives, for better or worse, we are always moms first.
Mom.
So how's the football game, everybody? So we went to a Richmond Spiders game.
Hey everybody, this is a Sports Podcast. This is your old pal, Coach Dick Calhoun. We're talking college football. Let's go to the callers. Caller, you're on the air.
Hi, this is Jake, and I have questions about football. What is football? How does it work? And which way are they going? Thank you.
There's a common tactic called the prestige where they run down to the 50-yard line,
I'm
turn
pretty
around, run the other way.
Pretty sure.
The other team never picks it up.
I'm pretty sure that
Astoundingly.
the prestige, which is isn't that a part of a magic trick?
Yeah.
Has nothing to do with football. And
You said yourself you don't know anything about football.
I don't know anything about
My
football.
name is Coach Dick Calhoun. I think
Can
clearly.
Can I just point out that? So I'm sitting with. Wait, so here's the lineup. Here we go. I'm sitting between Max and Erik, and Hannah's on the other end. So I can't even see Hannah. Hannah's doesn't exist in the world of my football viewing experience. Mm-hmm. I'm sure she had a grand time, but I could not interact with her mostly. Yeah. So Max is enjoying the fuck out of giggling and making fun of me. Meanwhile, Erik is telling me to calm the fuck down. So I was very confused the entire time.
You were wound up.
And I didn't know what to do. I didn't feel wound up.
But did you have fun?
Tone was up.
I get high-pitched when I'm stressed because I didn't know what to do.
And it was going higher and higher.
Yeah, I didn't know what to do.
But did you have fun?
I did have fun.
Okay,
I learned about
football.
So we stayed until the third. Here's what I know about football. We stayed until the third quarter.
Till the end of the third quarter, right?
Till the end of the third quarter. And I figured out maybe what was happening in the last 15 minutes. And there's something about
which is a quarter, right?
Math.
Uh-huh.
So the last quarter, which is not the last quarter, but the third quarter, but there's math. And they only have 5 cheerleaders at the University of Richmond. This is what I learned about football today. Yay! Sports.
Cool.
Wonderful.
This is my first time at a football game. It was fun.
Any kind of football game? You've never been to a high school game or anything?
I've never been to any kind of football game that I can recall.
Interesting. Okay.
There was a popular homeschool football team.
Yeah, the Crusaders.
The
Crusaders?
Crusaders.
Oh, I thought you said the Crusaders. Were they like...
stumbled.
I knew Crusaders, but I don't think I ever went and actually saw a game.
Yeah, I knew
How
one of
would
the
that
guys.
work? Where did they practice? Bunch of homeschoolers.
Somebody's backyard.
Somebody had a big
No,
yard.
they practiced at a public school field. They got permission to use one of the public school fields to practice.
Yeah, so football. We watched football. It was pretty great. I saw things. People gave us free stuff at the end. Well, they gave Max free stuff. I didn't trust the free stuff.
It was a cup, right?
It was a
And
cup
a bracelet.
and one of those silicone bracelets and a keychain telling me to stay sober.
Mm-hmm.
Can I tell you guys our exciting podcast news?
Yes.
Are you ready for it?
Mm-hmm.
Are you super, super duper ready for it? So
Less ready by the moment.
Yeah, but I couldn't be more ready.
we are affiliates. Like a real podcast?
Fancy.
Yes, we are affiliates with Instacart. So now if you're listening to this podcast, you can get a free delivery on a $35 order of groceries or whatever from Instacart. There's going to be a link in our show notes. I personally like having people go and get my groceries for me and pick out my stuff because I am disabled and it's hard to walk around the grocery store and I just hate the grocery store experience. I've had a really, really good experience with Instacart when I've used it. So you can get fresh produce produce from local stores that you patronize and stuff. And I'm really excited about it. So we get to offer free delivery on your first $35 order, or 14 days of free delivery if you sign up for Instacart Express. So
But how?
Yeah. But how?
But how?
Yeah, do we have
But
like an
how?
offer code or something?
No, we don't have an offer code. There's a link that's going to be in the story
Gotcha.
notes. So a link to our show notes. It's just going to be in there. I'll make it obvious. It will say Instacart link,
Here.
click here. And that lets Instacart know that you found them through us. And it also gets you your free stuff, which is pretty cool.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm excited about it.
Great. Yeah, it's nifty.
We like groceries.
We like
I
groceries.
like to eat.
I like to eat. I like having groceries delivered. I'm excited about it.
I like torturing myself with the traditional grocery
I know you
shopping
do.
methods.
And you get really angry when I hear so many stories about how angry you are at the grocery store.
It's just real easy to happen at the most convenient grocery store to where I live.
The grocery store that you go to is scary.
It's the one I choose to, though, because I'd rather
most
go to that
exciting.
one than the other ones.
So that was it. That was my big exciting news.
That's exciting.
That's
That's
awesome.
good, exciting news.
I thought that was really exciting. So that's what I had.
Welcome to the Pod Pod Cvlt Cast, where we talk about life, love, learning, and libido, and share our journey through polyamory and kink. I'm Hannah.
Coach Dick Calhoun, king of the gridiron.
And I'm Erik.
I'm Chastain. Wait, how many?
Yeah,
There's one more.
Yeah, what's happening?
I don't know what's
I told you we can't record after dinner.
No, I like it when we record after dinner. I find that our episodes that we've recorded after dinner have been the most delightful for me to edit.
Oh, I see.
Okay. I was gonna
Yeah.
say, did you have like some stats or numbers to back this up? But that sentence took a turn at the end of it.
No, I mean
The best
It didn't
to
go-
edit.
the best to edit.
What's happening here?
What, it's just hot off the presses.
Yeah, we're going to talk about some current events, breaking news, breaking as of
Like 4
almost
days
a
ago.
month ago at time of recording, and by the time this actually comes out, it'll probably be 2 months ago. We're going to talk about the sad case of Katie Hill,
Oh, Katie.
formerly congressperson from California, and we're going to discuss a few things about that case. Do you guys want me to break down what I know from the stuff I have read?
Yes, tell
Please
us
do.
what you know.
Okay, so Katie Hill, let's see, of Agua Dulce, California. I actually took some notes, wrote some stuff down.
I'm impressed.
Sweetwater.
You did homework, yeah.
Oh, is that? Yeah, I guess that is Agua Dulce. There's a Sweetwater, Texas, right?
There's a Sweetwater everywhere in the West.
Is there? Yeah.
Isn't that also the Westworld? Wasn't that the town?
I don't know.
Sure.
I don't remember. Anyway, she was formerly the congressperson from the 25th Congressional District in California. She resigned from that post this week as of recording. I don't know when this episode will actually come out.
Okay, yeah. I don't
But
know either.
as of a few weeks ago, as a result of a messy and contested divorce, there were photos, nude photos leaked of her. There were text messages between her what do we say? We say estranged husband. Is that the term of art? Between her estranged husband and a woman that they had formerly had a relationship with together. And all of these, of course, the allegation is have been leaked by the husband, but, you know, that's an allegation. That's allegedly. And so this woman that reportedly had a relationship with Katie Hill and her soon-to-be ex-husband, Kenny Hayslip, and I've only read this stuff, so if I pronounce some last names wrong, I apologize, entered into a throuple, it has been reported in the news, relationship
What's
with
a
them.
throuple, Max?
That's a non-monogamous, polyamorous, often relationship between three people.
Okay, thank you.
Entered into a relationship with them shortly after she became part of the campaign staff for Katie Hill's run for Congress. Theoretically, according to congressional rules, there is no rule against having a relationship with your campaign staff member.
Right.
However, the husband also says that she had an affair with a member of her congressional staff, which there is an ethics rule against although she denies that. The text messages and photos involved appeared on the super conservative website Red State and the Daily Mail, the British tabloid thing.
Without her consent.
Without her consent.
Okay.
This is a podcast where we talk about love and relationships, sex and kink, and polyam issues, and whatever else comes up. While we talk about those things, we'll probably also touch on stuff like abuse and violence and mental health challenges. These can be difficult topics, so keep that in mind moving ahead. So, I don't know, I guess it's, since these aren't, consensual shown photos, I shouldn't really talk about what they are, but, it's really kind of mild stuff, what's in the photos. It's no, graphic. There's no sex. There's just nude photos.
It's just nude photos. But, anytime anybody leaks photos of you without your consent.
Yeah.
I mean, if people post photos of me on social media without first letting me check it to make sure that, I don't have a double chin, or I look pretty, or I don't have a wonky eye, that's bad enough. But if they post pictures of me naked...
Well, I wasn't saying that that's not bad to post photos of someone naked. What I was saying is, it's not really anything to be embarrassed about what is shown in these photos.
Right. I agree with that. But it's still without consent.
Yes. I said I don't... Yeah. In any event. And the Daily Mail article, because I read a bunch of the articles, including the gross tabloid article in Daily Mail. That one also interviewed someone who had lived on the ranch that Hill and Hayslip own, had rented from them, who also claims that years ago he saw them engage in a relationship with another young woman, much younger than them, at that time as well. So it appears to be...
Katie Hill's openly bisexual, correct?
Came out after high school, according to one of the articles I read. I don't know, exactly what coming out in that context means, if she screamed it from the rooftops or posted it on Facebook or whatever. But anyway, yes, openly bisexual, apparently has had a history with this husband of being in multiple person non-monogamous relationships. According to him, this other person that supposedly she had an affair with, who is Graham Kelly, that was the breaking point because, to paraphrase, it was okay with him for her to have a relationship with another woman, but he couldn't stand for her to have another relationship with another man.
He couldn't stand.
He could not. The husband could not. So that's another little wrinkle to the story. And since then, she gave her last congressional floor speech this week, in which she talked about revenge porn, talked about the discrepancies in how women are treated as opposed to men are treated in... public
discrepancies
sex scandals and
discrepancies
things.
is a very light word. It's a fucking double standard.
Yeah. Okay. I'm just talking about what...
That is how she worded it, though.
Sorry.
Yeah. She is now out of Congress officially, and not for nothing, George Papadopoulos, that's his name, right?
Yeah.
Apparently is going to run for her now empty seat. And all of this was a right-wing hit job to get her out of Congress. Get any... Not just her, but open up a seat. Mm-hmm. And, who knows? This is a wild speculation. Maybe he had something to do with the hit job. Who could say?
Ooh, conspiracy theory.
Yeah. Illuminati. The woman involved, let's see, so Katie Hill's 32. The other woman is Morgan Desjardins, who is now 24, and 24-year-old.
24-year-old.
Yeah. Texted that she was still, that the breakup was crushing, but that the relationship had been toxic to her, and that she still took ownership for hanging in there, and also said something about being, messed up about you fuckers in a text message to the husband. I mean, clearly, if they're his text messages, they came from him, right? Unless somebody hacked his phone, he's the one that leaked the stuff, right?
Right. I mean, obviously, but didn't he also leak the pictures? I mean, isn't that the assumption?
That's the assumption. There's no proof that I know of. He hasn't said, I'm the one that sent these things to these conservative
But Katie
news sites.
Hill believes that
she has publicly said and talked about him being abusive, and
that she believes that he
that he has
released these photos.
Right.
Okay. All right.
Right. So I think maybe the first thing we can talk about is having a relationship when there is an imbalance of power.
Yeah.
Because we're talking about a significantly younger woman having a relationship with an older couple, one of whom is her new boss. It's not just any workplace. We're talking about a serious imbalance of power.
Yeah.
You know, someone who is running for public office and then became a congressperson.
Yeah. So I have had relationships with subordinates. I have had relationships with people above me. I feel like they're definitely, when you have that imbalance of power, I feel like it's definitely something that manipulates consent. And I feel like you definitely make some decisions because you think, like, I don't know, there's this level of excitement that comes with it. Like, oh, this person's going to be for me, I would go like, oh, this person's going to be a congresswoman. Like, oh, you know?
Yeah, sure.
Like, I would get really excited about that. And that would make me make some choices that maybe I would not make. And there's also a level of perceived authority that comes with that. Because if this person is about to hold political office, you think like, oh, they're upstanding. They're going to treat me well. There's a trust that's automatically built in, even though you don't know that person.
Mm-hmm. There is.
I think so.
I mean, there should be, for sure.
Okay, so there have been lots of studies. Bear with me. This might take a second. There have been lots of studies about people who chat with people online and form relationships with people online. And I think that having relationships with people who are in very powerful positions or celebrity or politics has the same thing, where they have this avatar, and the avatar is what you see, but you don't necessarily think of them having a real life. So really, you're just having a relationship or a fantasy about the idea of them in your head. So, like, say you meet somebody in a chat room, you're only seeing what they give you, and you're forming an idea in your head, and that's what you're falling for.
Yeah, of course.
So that's what I think happens when you're dealing with the kind of balance of power. Like, if we go back to the Lewinsky-Clinton situation, like...
Oh, let's not.
Okay, well, I mean, we can skip it, but...
Well, there's an idiom that power is an aphrodisiac. I mean, I don't think this is disputed or anything.
No,
but,
I wouldn't dispute that at all.
And I mean, to return specifically to what we're talking about, though, I don't think that necessarily... I think that now any workplace relationship, romance, whatever, gets painted with kind of the same brush, and I don't think it's all the same. I think that in this sort of relationship,
definitely
there is a very, very clear imbalance of power.
Well, and this is why she's stepping down, right? She's stepping down because she realizes that there was an imbalance of power, and she's stepping down because she feels like she did something wrong and she's failed her constituents.
Right. Well, I mean, I think her public statements have mostly been of the nature that people make about these sorts of things, where they say, I don't want to be a distraction. I don't want my personal situation to cause a problem. I want my district to be able to move ahead. You know, they make all those sorts of statements about that thing.
Yeah.
But it's, she's resigning ahead of an ethics investigation. Like, there was a announced ethics investigation having to do with the second affair, because, as I said, the first affair did not technically break any ethics rules.
Right. And the second allegation is that it's a congressional staffer, and that does break rules.
Right. Correct.
So balance of power, I think it's typically a bad idea to shit where you eat, and that's the same thing for dating in the workplace.
Right.
Just because it's a bad idea.
Don't dip your pen in the company inkwell. There are plenty of idioms having to do with that as well.
Exactly.
Now, on the other hand, for campaigning, I have to imagine that the husband would have been deeply involved in that, or had the potential to be, in that, nobody would really bat an eye at that situation because there are other legal protections in place to bring some balance to that relationship. Right? So it's not just a relationship with someone who also worked on the campaign.
Yeah.
It's specific to the
you...
type of relationship, which is not a marriage.
Right. Are you hinting at a double standard there?
I mean, a little bit.
Yeah.
But also, I mean, there is a reason that there's a reason that marriage exists as a legal contract. And it is to protect both parties. And I think this is one of those areas that we tend to think that it doesn't matter. And clearly they didn't necessarily think that this was as big a deal or had the potential to be as problematic as it is. But those legal protections are just not in place. They don't come to bear on the type of relationship that, the two women had. Mm-hmm. And I think, that opens up the door for a lot of difficulty.
Yeah. Well, like for the husband to benefit from that financially and simultaneously screw over his ex.
Well, and there's some stuff in the text messages and things about that too, that he's claiming that he can't afford the mortgage on the ranch, and she's saying that she's still paying the mortgage on the ranch, and he can't afford to feed their rescue animals, and she's saying that she's still feeding the rescue animals. So yeah, everything in the world is about money, but there is a lot of that too involved in the story too.
Well, to go back to the conspiratorial end of that, I mean, why not sell all that stuff off to essentially sell a seat of Congress to the other side?
Yeah, sure.
Especially as old Papa Dop's gonna jump in there.
Lord. Oh, for crying out loud.
I just hate this so much because anybody can trust the wrong person.
Yeah.
So the X-Files was right. Trust no one.
That's right. Well, no.
Damn it.
We have to trust our partners. But that doesn't necessarily mean that they're always going to be trustworthy.
Yeah.
So I just feel really badly anytime I hear about a woman being put in this position, because whether or not she was right in everything that she did, and whether or not, the individual relationships were flawed or ethically flawed, like anybody can make that particular error. That error is not a moral error. That's an error of judgment. To say, I trusted somebody with information that could end my career and they chose to use it against me. Like, that just sucks.
I would say that it's definitely superseded by the usage of that to destroy careers and that sort of thing.
I feel really sad for Katie Hill. I feel really proud of her for, she's taking up the mantle to fight revenge porn. Mm-hmm. And that's a really important thing that needs to be done and needs focus. And so hopefully this will give it more focus. And hopefully it will put focus on the currently pretty shitty laws that exist everywhere.
The somewhat hypocritical one.
Yeah. But I feel bad about the fact that sex scandals are such an easy distraction for us. Everybody fucks. So.
Well, that's actually one of the things about, I didn't start reading to the story until it had been kind of out for a while. So the first articles I saw were less about the thing itself and more about
her.
What does this say about X issue? And one of the things that a lot of these articles and commentaries kept coming back to was, well, now that we have millennials in public office, we're going to see this a lot because millennials have nude pictures out there. I've had baby boomers. I'm not baby boomers probably because I don't remember exactly. Let me take that again. Like I've had, deep Gen Xers send me nude pictures. I've had, women significantly older than me.
Can we talk about all of the old wife pictures of your wife swap groups on Yahoo, and now the groups that exist for places like that on Facebook and Whisper people, and also Adult Friend Finder, where people share nudes of their spouses or girlfriends in exchange for nudes of your spouse or girlfriend.
Well, Reddit has "Would you fuck my wife?" and many variations,
and
on
chances
that
are
term.
none of that is consensual.
And pictures that maybe probably were Katie Hill, were on Reddit, but I wasn't able to see in the stuff that I read. I tried to figure it out if those were old or since all of the other stuff has happened.
I'm just going to say it. There's lots of naked pictures of me on the internet. I don't care.
Yeah. Well, I just, like I said,
I'm not running for office. I don't feel like any moral issue with it. I'll get naked right now. I don't care.
Well, but like I said, this is not an issue with millennials. This is an issue for everybody. This is an issue that ever since every one of us has a photo studio in our pocket at all times, this exists. This is in the world. And I think I'm not saying anything smart or new here, but quit the fucking pearl clutching over the damn thing, you know? Like,
yeah, it's something that will go the way of, whatever.
Yeah.
We're just still in the pearl clutching stage.
Yeah. Yeah, and so, of course, like everything else in the world, there is opposing commentary on the other side, which tries to change the topic completely, that says, well, she's playing the victim over this thing. She's not playing the victim over the inappropriate relationships. She's not playing a victim. How am I going to phrase this? She is a victim of the revenge porn issue, and she's saying that. But, of course, the commentary tries to erase what...
her taking ownership of it?
Right, exactly. Taking ownership of the inappropriate relationships or relationship.
So the video that we watched together of her speech from this week, right, was edited down a little bit.
Oh, yeah, we didn't watch the full speech. No.
But from what I've heard, she is not making excuses for the parts of this that were her responsibility.
Right.
And she's stepping down at least partially because of that.
Right.
So I don't know, that it seems like we should be able to separate the two better than we currently are able to do.
Right. But if you get if all you know is what you get from Fox News, and their commentators say, this is what she said, then that's all you get. And that's good enough for, 48% of the voting public.
Yeah. If you want to believe bad things about somebody, then that is what you're going to do. We had that here. I mean, maybe we want to go there, maybe we don't. But a few years ago now, do y'all remember that there was a local TV personality from another state in the South who was run out of town?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I don't know that.
Based on... As it was related to me, I didn't research it because it's one of those things that just sort of came through as a wave of gossip that was unavoidable. And I didn't want to know. It was one of those things where people would come by your desk and be like, you can just Google them. They're right there. And nude photos. And I was like, why would you do that? I definitely don't want to do that. But it was inescapable for a little while when she moved out here. But yeah, as it was related to me, local television personality had an affair with a local business person and did badly, however the case, and photos ended up being published. And, just one fell swoop. She loses relationships and her career and her reputation in the entire town, and ended up just packing it in, going to another state and starting over. And I have so much admiration for what she's done here. I mean, she is absolutely a household name and hustles for it every single day. Just you see her face everywhere. And to do that knowing that everybody knew, knowing that everyone has seen the photos and just being like, if I keep doing a good job, people will stop talking about it. And I don't know, it seems like she's found some success, but it really shook me up to hear it being talked about as openly and as negatively as it was at the time, because I was definitely one of those, this could happen literally to anybody. So I don't understand, especially women, vilifying her as an individual for something that absolutely couldn't happen to you.
Yeah.
Well, people love to pile on.
Yeah.
And it's at least, how she's handled it has at least been effective enough that I didn't know about it or remember it, one or the other, but I don't remember anything.
Yeah.
So.
If you're enjoying the Pod Pod Cvlt Cast, check out our podcast show notes at www.podpodcvlcast.com, or keep up with us on Twitter, Tumblr, and Facebook at Pod Pod Cvlt Cast, and Instagram at Cult with a V. Love us? Give us a rating on Apple Podcasts, or help us continue to make this podcast possible by becoming a patron. Head over to patreon.com/podpodcvlcast. Remember, that's Cult with a V. Our patrons get access to exclusive content, cool swag, and our exclusive Patreon series, the Cult Cast Media Club podcast. Thank you so much to this month's patrons, Jenny, Chip, Maggie, Kate, and Sydney. Thank you for believing in us.
Yeah, so we talked about relationships when there's an imbalance of power. We talked about the revenge porn issue. What else is there? Are there any more meat on this bone?
She owned up to it and stepped down, where another double standard entirely would be that the exact same thing happens with the conservative old white guys.
Yeah, how many old
And-
white guys have sucked some dick in a bathroom in an airport and not stepped down?
Well, I mean, that's,
I really
I mean,
couldn't
that's
name one
specific
specifically.
scenario.
How many male congressmen have had affairs, public affairs, with people on the campaign trail
Yeah, that's what I mean.
that have come out and have not stepped down?
Right. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
That's a fairly commonplace.
This is
they're not
why women
vilified.
need to run for office, and this is why we need to vote. This is why all of that is very, very important, because there is a huge, very misogynistic double standard, and it's unacceptable.
Well, I'm not. I mean, we can follow all of the folds back here if we need to, and I'm not defending anybody. I'm certainly not defending Al Franken, but Al Franken resigned in sort of a similar way, in sort of a similar position. And part of the issue is less about male-female disparities, although that is certainly part of it. I'm not denying that, but it's also a matter.
left-right
It's also a matter of the Democrats feel like they have to be the party of grown-ups and transparency and doing everything by the book to contrast themselves from a history of the kinds of behavior that you're talking about.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, but I don't see a problem with that, because I see the Republican Party and the conservative parties as housing a lot of just, it's just gross. That's all. It's gross. It's all gross. It's unethical. And
It's also problematic in the fact that you will be losing people that, apart from any of these personal things, they will be talented. Good for the government people that are leaving.
But there are other ways.
Hang on. By doing the right thing, whereas that double standard just it shallows the pool on the one side and deepens it on the other.
Right.
But Katie Hill can write a fucking book, go on tour, go do the whole press junket for all of it, and raise awareness and use this unfortunate fame that this has brought her, because all I knew about her was she was the bisexual congresswoman until now. Now she has a platform to go out there and use her power for other things. She may not be doing it in office, but she can still do it in the world. She didn't stop existing just because she's not in office. Al Franken didn't stop existing. Al Franken still exists.
Kinda.
But Al Franken understands that maybe his voice isn't wanted in certain spaces. Katie Hill she can still use her voice in spaces.
Yeah, I really do hope it works out that way. And that this is about being able to fight this better from outside of Congress. I mean, obviously, others are going to have to distance themselves from her and not defend her if she stays. So it seems like it could be a smart move personally, and also for the kind of change she's in the position to help make.
And can I just say thank you, Katie Hill, for making the last thing that you did, voting for the impeachment process for Trump to begin. Thank you.
I think that we have seen, Chastain, you and I have been guilty of chasing less than healthy relationships when what you really, really want is that third person. So maybe you do pursue a relationship with someone who's inappropriate. Maybe you do pursue a relationship that's toxic. Maybe you do pursue a relationship with someone who just is not a good fit for you.
There's a lot of opportunities.
Because what you want as a couple is that third person, and you want it so badly that you're willing to trim that jigsaw piece until it fits in the hole.
That's unicorn hunting, and that's why it's not ethical to be a unicorn hunter. And
I just think it's a really common and sad thing, and I think that when we try to have healthier relationships, we should try to have healthier relationships with all of the people in our lives, and not trim jigsaw pieces until they fit the hole you want them to fit.
Exactly. I agree with that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Anything more on Katie Hill?
No, I'm actually surprised we went that in depth.
Me too. Well, good luck to her and to her family. And I look forward to seeing what she does with her revenge porn platform.
Cool.
Yeah.
Do you want to try to talk about something a little lighter for a few minutes?
Yes, absolutely. Hannah.
Who, me?
But,
Hannah's the lighter thing we're going to talk about.
But wait a minute, wait. Before we do that, though, can we do a couple of shout outs to our Patreon patrons?
Uh-huh.
Quick shout out to our cult bursers, Jenny and Chip, and our swabby, Maggie, and our shipmates, Kate and Sydney. Thank you so much for supporting us on Patreon. If you support us on Patreon, you're helping us hit a goal. Right now, we're trying to make a goal of $75 a month so that we can transcribe our episodes so that they are available to people who would prefer to read our episodes as opposed to listen to our episodes. This can help people who have processing issues, sensory issues, or who are hard of hearing or deaf. And I'm pretty sure that there are people with accessibility issues who are in the poly community, and I want to make sure that we can reach everybody. $75 a month is our goal. You can help us meet that goal by becoming a subscriber. Head on over to www.patreon.com/podpodcvlcast. That's
Cult with a V.
There it is. And for just $1 a month, you can help us meet that goal. Thank you so much.
Or more. I mean, we'll take more.
We'll take more. We're not stopping you. And all of it comes with perks and fun things. So that was all I had to say.
You had a
great
NPR begathon voice just then.
The begathon.
This is our begathon. I'll stop talking about it when we can transcribe our episodes, and then we'll talk about our next goal.
That's how they do it too.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. That's right.
Some fucking professional shit over here.
Less so now.
You're handsome.
I like how this become a thing. You're handsome.
That's not how I say it.
That's how you said it this time.
It can bleed into that.
On a lighter note, but still about.
Yeah, I don't know that this is really that much lighter.
I think it's light.
It can
what's
be.
my segue here? We were talking about trying to make people fit the relationship that we want.
Yes.
But in a funny way. No. I came across this article shared from the Kimchi Cuddles Facebook page. We love that comic. From Luisa Leontiades, who has written on polyamory and takes questions. One of the questions.
Speaking of NPR voice, that was some great NPR name pronunciation there.
I was trying really hard. That's what I was over here furiously scrolling to make sure that I was pronouncing it correctly. So if I'm not, please be kind to me. But the question was essentially, why are polyamorous people so ugly?
Why are polyamorous people so ugly? Over to you, Max.
Well, I mean,
no.
Let's.
No, but this caught my eye because I feel like this is such an awful thing to say, and yet it did not surprise any of us, I don't think.
Nope.
It's just one of those self-deprecating, y'all think our lifestyle is glamorous, but actually we're just a bunch of weird, dirty nerds. And the question was phrased in such a way that was we entered this world in the glamorous avenue of swinging. Should we read this?
Yeah, just read the question.
I got into polyamory via a glamorous life of swinging, but my wife and I found that unconnected sex didn't do it for us, and we started to fall for another couple. Sadly, they felt that polyamory threatened their relationship, so we started exploring poly groups for more like-minded people. But on the whole, the people who attended poly meetups, whilst being more open-minded, were ugly. I don't use the word as a judgment. I might like them as people, but the majority are overweight, nerdy, don't take care of themselves, and behind that loving everyone stance, often pissed off about the society norms in general, which I don't find attractive quite apart from looks. I realize that my experience is simply that, but looking around on the internet, I get the feeling that my opinion is one of many similar opinions.
I'm not judgmental, but y'all ugly, fat, nerds.
Hey.
Well, I'm going to talk about my experience with the glamorous world of swinging.
Yes,
tell
Where
please.
Chastain and I were Craigslist swingers for several years at the early part of our marriage and before our marriage. And my experience with that was not glamorous, and we did not meet people who are any different from the people that we meet at polyam meetups and shit. What's
those things?
Potluck.
Munches?
No, I was trying to say potluck.
Oh.
At polyam meetups and potlucks and munches and whatever. And I felt like at the time there was this like glamorous world of swinging that was like just above our heads, that there was a tier that we didn't know how to break into.
There was a magical hotel party that if we were just a little bit prettier, we would get invited
not even that.
to.
Like, you just had to know the secret word.
Yeah.
You know?
Turns out you don't have to know the secret word because there is no secret word.
But, so I take exception first to the glamorous world of swinging. Hey, man, we probably got swingers listening to us, and I'm sure they're wonderful, glamorous people, but I didn't meet you, and you're no different than the people I meet at polyam stuff.
Ooh.
I've met a lot of swingers. I've done a lot of swinging. I am a normal-looking chick, and I'm fat. And I don't care what anybody says. I don't have any problem getting tail, so whatever.
It seems like the I don't care what anybody says or thinks about me is kind of part of what this person found unattractive, which is interesting. The response is great. We'll post it. You should read it. And
we'll post a link.
Some
in
of the
show
highlights being, you're right, that is a thing that lots of people say.
Yeah.
You're not the only one who feels this way, which is certainly true. And maybe these people are just presenting themselves in a more real, natural, comfortable way.
Or
because
maybe
they are not, their main goal may not be to get laid tonight.
Yeah.
Right? So
Yeah.
maybe there is a level on which whenever you're swinging, you're like, I have a specific short-term goal in mind. And for those reasons, I am dressing like this or presenting myself like that.
Or maybe they're just not so focused on the just how I look on. And maybe
exactly,
into like higher
and I
order
think that was at the heart.
Right.
Mm.
Well, what is it? What is you say Bon Joviary? That's a thing that you say. I think of it as peacockery. When we're dressed up for other people as opposed to dressing for ourselves. I dress up for myself. I put makeup on for myself. I do my hair for myself. When I feel pretty and sexy, that's great, but it's not for other people. It's for me and my feelings. So yeah, that's a feeling that I have. And sometimes I just want to wear my yoga pants and a tank top and a sports bra, and that's also okay.
Well, I do think that as phrased in the question itself and as phrased in the answer again, which we're putting in show notes so anybody can read it, we do meet people who are like those sort of polyam evangelist types who we are more evolved and we're above and beyond these things and we're above and beyond all conventions of society, not just our relationships, but everything else. There are those people. Those people exist. Those people are fine. I don't, I'm not going to denigrate them either.
Right.
They're not the majority.
No, they're not the majority. And I also think that there's a lot to be said for, you find a lot of environmentalism and sustainability in polyculture, and that tends to lend itself towards a different way of dress than your standard on trend whatever shiny thing. You don't wear as much jewelry. You don't use a lot of cosmetics and products. You use a lot more natural products. Like Hannah uses a lot of natural products. I use a lot of stuff that has a lot less chemicals in it. Erik uses a lot of natural products. Max uses the same products he's been using for the last 25 years, just 'cause who he is as a person. We present as well-groomed people.
Well, I don't usually.
Okay, so aside from, cargo shorts McGee over here.
That's not even what I wear most of the time. It's usually just workwear for the shop.
But that's not, I don't see you in your workwear.
Yeah.
I'm talking about your social life.
What's that?
It's when you hang out with me and then the other people that I know.
Oh, okay.
Well, Chastain, when you and I met, when you and I started dating, I had a shaved head. I mostly wore Misfits and Black Flag t-shirts and cut off fatigue pants.
When you went to church, you would put on a pair of khakis and perhaps a dress shirt or polo.
I had a dress shirt that I wore every Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I had more than one dress shirt, but I
was
pretty much
Sunday
wore
dress
the same one every Sunday. And, as time went on,
you discovered Brooks Brothers.
I started to dress in the manner in which I felt like an adult.
Yes.
Which means collared shirts most of the time. Mm-hmm. I get excited about the weather cooling off because I can start to wear ties and sweaters and jackets. And that's just about me feeling like an adult. That's the way I feel like an adult dresses. For me.
Right.
Nobody else.
I don't wear, so going to the football game today was weird, and you all heard me comment on this several times, because I wore jeans and tennis shoes and a sweatshirt. And that's not typically what I would wear. I was thinking about it. It's like, gosh, could I get away with tights and a skirt? Will I be warm enough? And I was like, what's a football game? I should dress like a football game person goer would wear. A crowd member? What do you put her fan? What are they called?
I'm not sure if we qualified as fans this time.
Football-y person? Anyway, someone who watches
football.
I'm
a super fan. I don't know what you're
Sorry.
But I mean, I still did like a grayed out purple smoky eye because I wanted to feel fancy and pretty. And
behind your sunglasses that you wore the whole time.
Behind my sunglasses, but I knew it was there because it was for me.
Right.
But I prefer to wear skirts and dresses. I don't like wearing pants. If I do wear pants, they're going to be pajama pants. Like it's either skirts and dresses or yoga or pajama pants. That's it. Like I have two modes, or lingerie or naked. Lots of lingerie.
So I think we're talking a lot about authenticity. Right. And I think realness, I think, is the word that's used in this particular article. But that gets at the heart of the difference between the two worlds that this person is trying to walk between. Right.
Right.
They want a real relationship with somebody who's actually interested in building something with them long term. Mm-hmm. That's awesome. And that's certainly what polyamory is or can be about. Mm-hmm. But that means interacting with real people.
You're so nice.
That means interacting with real people. And if those people are comfortable, right? Which isn't that one of the beautiful things about being able to go to meetups or parties or just to hang out at somebody's house who isn't going to judge you. You can be open about your life.
And also not just hit on you.
Right.
It's not like this constant meat market.
I love having people here and seeing them just go all out with a costume or with lingerie or just with whatever weird thing brings them joy. But I also love seeing people be entirely comfortable in their own skin. And sometimes those two things aren't the same.
Right. Yeah.
They don't happen at the same time.
Absolutely.
So I hope that, people who are having that experience are continuing to show up and find the people who kind of drive with them.
Mm-hmm.
I don't necessarily think it's wrong to say, oh, well, I'm out here trying to meet a partner. I'm going to put my best foot forward. And that includes like being dressed the best, of my Sunday best.
And maybe finding a partner for you means wearing your Doctor Who t-shirt because you want somebody to say, hey, that's a cool Doctor Who t-shirt. I like Doctor Who too.
Well, and I think also, it's okay to be attracted to the type of person you're attracted to.
But don't expect everybody else to subscribe to that as well.
Exactly. And that's what this whole thing is about. It's about that, like, a lot of polyamorous people have just kind of gone beyond.
Yeah, they're into different shit.
Yeah, we just don't subscribe to the bullshit anymore because we recognize that the bullshit doesn't really work and it's a lot of commercialized stuff.
Let's be fair.
Stuff.
Like monogamy.
Sure.
Like the patriarchy.
Okay.
All that stuff's not like. I mean, monogamy is fine as a consensual relationship style choice, but there's toxic stuff. So there are some things that maybe society's getting wrong.
So I was just
diet pills.
I was just scanning through the article again, trying to find any kind of diet. What?
I'm just saying stuff at this point.
Yeah.
Hot dogs.
I was just scanning through the article, looking for some kind of indication of how old it was. Because this thing about realness and this thing about authenticity, I feel was kind of buzzy 4 years ago, right? Like I remember hearing a lot of people talking about living authentically on podcasts 4 years ago and going, what the fuck does that even mean, man? Like, I'm just I'm just out here trying to get to work on time.
I'm not
man.
going to tell you what the name of my coaching group is then.
Well, no, but that's what I thought when I first started hearing it 4 years ago, and you and I talked about it a lot in our relationship agreements. And
The word authenticity appears at least twice in our relationship agreements.
yeah, so, I've become more comfortable with the notion, but I think it was a little more buzzwordy a couple or a few years ago.
Yeah, but self-care and wellness are
And I
too.
wonder if this article is a little older than we realize or not, because I couldn't find a date attached to it. So.
That may be the case. And I have to wonder, too, if this person isn't kind of in a large town, small city situation like we are, where it's like you only get one subculture. Like, there is no variety. You all show up at the same bar, no matter what your nerddom or like your special interest is. You have the same social spaces.
Yeah, in Richmond, like all of our subcultures just have to hang out in the same spaces, and it's typically the same people.
So if you want to talk to somebody who's interested in an alternative relationship style, you also have to wade through maybe a bunch of nerd stuff that you weren't interested in, or countercultural stuff that you weren't prepared to have conversations about. And I can understand why that would be overwhelming.
Yeah, but that's also what happens when you subscribe to something different.
Agreed. Yeah, I do think it comes with the territory, maybe for some locations or groups of people more so than others.
Well, no, I just mean you can't really try to subscribe to something alternative and different and then bitch about it being different.
Right.
Right.
I want you to be different in this one specific way. It's just really hard to segment that off.
No, like everybody wants the stupid Playboy, like, or Dear Hustler letter or whatever fantasy, right? Like, they want the hot chick who is their magical unicorn.
Right. Growing up with punk shit as a teenager, the original punkness was about the deconstruction of conformity and beauty and trying to be ugly and gross. And by the time I was a punk in the 90s, all of that stuff had evolved into looking like the people looked in those album covers and and those magazine articles, but also looking like nice and hot while you did it. So the idea of people like letting go of beauty standards rings a little hollow to me, because I think that, like, even within what you choosing to wear what you want to wear, most people are still put on whatever that thing is and look at themselves in the mirror and go like, okay, I look nice for going out. Like,
I don't know. I've been on a lot of first dates, and there are a lot of people who don't dress the way that I expect people to dress for first dates. But to me, that doesn't say that there's something wrong with the person. It just says that that person is not right for me.
Well, no, that's exactly what I just said. That person leaving for the first date still looked at themselves in the mirror and said, I look right for this first date.
Right.
Yeah.
So from that perspective, saying, we're a couple who's just getting into polyamory groups. We visited a couple and didn't find anybody we were interested in. That sounds like a very normal experience.
Yep.
Like, I wouldn't be discouraged by that at all.
It's not swinging. It's not
often,
the same thing.
Often, a lot of people don't go to Munches and stuff. I don't really like going to Munches. I prefer just going to the parties, but sometimes you have to go to the Munches to get to the parties.
I bet if I was trying to find a chess club and I went to 2 chess clubs,
you
I
wouldn't find one you
a chess
liked,
club that I liked.
Yep.
I would have to go to several.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But we wanted a now.
Yeah.
Dating is hard.
Dating is hard.
Especially if you take a Veruca Salt attitude.
Yes. Dating is hard. Don't be a little bitch about it.
Feast.
You talking about, like, bean?
She says, I want a bean feast.
Oh, really? I don't remember that.
That's part of her song.
Mm-hmm.
The part of this that made me laugh, though, and made me want to read more was not like the pressing question of why polyamorous people are so ugly.
Damn ugly.
It's why we talk about ourselves that way.
Right.
And I don't think I'm alone in noticing that. Like, why is it that we feel the need to put this down? Because I've had that impulse from the very beginning to say, like, oh, this isn't so glamorous. Like, I'm not a greedy person who gets everything she wants because of this. I'm just a normal nerd girl having awkward times. Like, why? Why can't we just be people?
Hannah's autobiography. I'm just a normal nerd girl having awkward times.
Your average dork being ugly with her friends. Like, why? Why do we do this?
Isn't that just part of the overarching like nerd psychology?
Well, but I think that the thing that happens there is like I'm embracing the thing that people have said about me and changing around so that it doesn't have power over me.
Yeah.
Like I'm fat, that's fine, right? Like other people call me fat, like, well, that hurt a long time ago.
Yeah.
It doesn't hurt now.
That
I don't
almost
care.
sounds like to the asker of this question in this article, you did this to us.
Yeah, you jock, you bully.
I mean, since you brought up the word jock, I still kind of am standing by my view that the
Swingers are jocks
and poly people are nerds.
You know, it's again in the answer to the thing talking about, I don't know, fucking realness or whatever.
Authenticity.
Right, but so we talked about kilts, right? And I said that
yes, we had an entire episode.
that this thing, Cosa Nostra, this thing of ours, it attracts the same kind of person that is the kind of person who would wear a kilt, and this is the same thing. We see a lot of very, very liberal social justice warrior types, and I do not use that term
pejoratively.
As a pejorative or as a derogatory term. I think it is a very good term. And we see people who subscribe to the body positivity movement and subscribe to the movements away from ableism and ageism and all these sorts of things. And it's just that letting go of societal norms around the way that we live our lives and have relationships means you're probably also the sort of person who lets go of those sorts of concepts that have to do with how we present our persons, our bodies, ourselves in the world.
Right.
And that's inherent in the question, that's inherent in the answer, but that's just what it is.
I looked it up. It's episode number 10.
See on through to the other side.
What language is this?
It's Elvish.
Yeah. Elvish Presley.
So did you start out your polyam journey thinking, I'm going to go to this party or this meetup or whatever, and I'm going to be surrounded by young, conventionally attractive, sexually available people all the time?
No, I went to a party and stared at the wall because everybody was really ugly.
Okay, so the first...
They weren't really ugly. I'm kidding.
I think the first thing that we went to, was a lunch at a restaurant, and there was a person who sat down with us, and we were brand new to going to any kind of group. You know, we had done some Tinder dating individually, brand new to going to any kind of group, and we sat down, and this person who sat and talked to us for a long time was very kind to come to new people and talk to them.
Didn't he do some of our work upstairs?
No.
Oh.
Started listing off local groups and, I don't know, maybe being good-natured about a little bit of jabbing he was giving each of them. And one of the local groups, which is a group expressly for younger people that has an age cutoff, he said, and, you know, everybody's fucking everybody over there.
You can say the next generation. They have those in all cities.
Okay. Everybody's fucking everybody over there. And I thought, oh, we should check that one out, because that's what I'm here for.
Yeah, not so much. Like, my experience with the poly community and the kink community was that nobody was fucking, and if anybody was fucking, it was gonna be me. It was gonna be us starting the party. All right.
Well, that's at parties. We're not necessarily talking about at parties.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I
He
get
was
excited.
talking about being at a munch.
I know.
And meeting people and just relationships that people were having.
Some
Nice.
some instances of this kind of idiom popping up in some comedy podcasts that I've heard. One I heard an orgy described as not being quite as glamorous as he thought it would be. That it was like a bunch of uncooked butterball turkeys left in a dumpster. or a sea of creases.
A sea of creases?
A sea of creases.
Okay.
Another comedian said, man, those poly people, that's really a quantity over quality kind of thing.
Okay.
Let's see. I know I've heard some more.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty standard across the board. I think
It's low-hanging fruit is what it is.
Yeah. That's the joke, right? Like, poly people are wolf t-shirt wearing, greasy haired.
And I have my
Neck
moments,
hair
but I'm not
having.
always like that.
Yeah, well, sometimes you do wash the wolf t-shirt.
Yeah.
There's a artist that Chastain, you bought me a print from who is
Sad cowboy.
Yeah, Shy Cowboy.
Shy cowboy.
And his Twitter handle is pants.
Good handle.
We'll put a link in the show
He
notes.
has he posts a lot of his art on Twitter, and one of them is a little line drawing of an orgy. In the middle of it, there's a guy with like assless chaps, which assless chaps is redundant.
Yep. They are
Chaps.
assless.
Yes, by their very nature,
Pantsless
with chaps and like a mask on or something. And he's saying, "Does anybody know the Wi-Fi password?" And that's the realest shit I've ever seen
so
about
real.
a sex party.
It's so real. so real. We'll post a link to that in the show notes as well, along with our affiliate link to Instacart, so you can get 14 days of free grocery deliveries or a free delivery of an order of $35 or more of your groceries from local stores, handpicked by shoppers.
Realness.
That was me being smooth. Do you see how smoothly I did
That
that?
was a fairly seamless
I'm
plug.
good at podcasting.
Okay,
Yay.
let's put a button in. Let's wrap
Okay.
up the
Okay.
ugly poly people thing.
Okay, so first off, everyone is beautiful in their own way. You don't have to be attracted for a person for them to still be a human being.
Except Josh.
Yeah, fuck Josh.
You have to pick a less common name. Some
Yeah,
poor
Josh is a
Josh
really
gonna
common
think
name.
we're talking about
you
them.
have to pick a very common
I
name.
know like 4 Joshes.
So Hieronymus, the one Hieronymus that might hear this, doesn't know that we're talking about
Hieronymus
it.
Bosch? You know that guy? Speaking of creases.
Because Josh that hears it is
Hieronymus
also going to know
Josh?
another Josh and be like, yeah, fuck Josh, dude. Fuck Josh S. I'm
Everyone
Josh
can
L.
find a Josh to love.
There's got to be a Borning after. There's got to be a Borning.
I know. Are we talking about what? Jason Bourne? What are we talking about?
That was what would happen if you took the Poseidon Adventure and you put Jason Bourne in it.
What the hell did you get?
What? Where?
Anyway, we were trying to put a wrap up on this. Goddamn
Instead of
disaster.
just
So
wrapping
what
it
I
up, we
learned
just
today-
unraveled
What
the
did you
whole
learn,
thing.
Hannah?
Is that
It better be about football.
Oh, God damn it.
football is like 1 million times more fun in person.
Yes.
Every sport is
Every
a million
sport is
times
more
more
fun
fun in
and
person.
Why do people watch football on TV? It's good to nap, too. Football and golf are good napping sports. What else did you learn?
I mean, sports on TV is good for a nap.
That's literally what I just said.
No, I mean, but not.
What else
limited
did
to
Hannah learn
football.
today?
What else did you learn, Hannah?
I learned that we are a community of authenticity, and we will choose to revel in our weird uniqueness.
I like
How about
being
that?
weird.
That's great.
Yay!
Everybody have a great week. We'll talk to you later.
Bye. You've just heard the Pod Pod Cvlt Cast with your hosts Max, Chastain, Hannah, and Erik. Our theme song is Spencer Blues by Lobo Loco. Our break music is by Gabarino on YouTube. We have a listener survey going on right now, and we would love your feedback. If you could take 10 minutes to visit www.podpodcvlcast.com/survey2019, we would love to hear from you. Give us your feedback on our episode length, how often we release, and the content that we provide. We want to make the best podcast for ourselves and for you. Thank you so much for listening.